Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
All right, welcome to the show this morning. It's Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. My name is Emmanuel Ujadigele. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning and for choosing to begin your day with us. It's just a day, 24 hours before the general elections, the presidential and National Assembly elections that will be holding tomorrow, February the 25th of 2023. Well, I hope you've gotten your PVCs and that you're ready to vote without any issues, without getting involved in any form of violence. Well, on Morning Spring, we hope to bring you the best of the morning gist, bring you interviews, bring you newspaper analysis, and of course, spring trends later on in the day. Thank you so much for starting your day with us.
Thank you for starting your day with us. And as Emmanuel said, I hope your PVCs are not just caught, but that you have them very close by and that you've dusted them, because it's very important that you do so and that you go out to vote tomorrow. Thanks for joining us again. Good morning. I am Temitope Ajijala.
All right, so we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll bring you the newspapers. Do stay with us.
The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ad initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups and the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Spring Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 Naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate. in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness and participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history.
All right, thank you so much for joining us and for staying with us on the show. It's still Morning Spring on Western Spring Television, where we bring you what's happening around you and help you make sense of them. Begin with the Punch newspapers this morning. The Punch newspaper banner headline says, pre-election violence, military, others begin raids on hoodlums hideout, 4 killed, 63 arrested, weapons recovered as thugs attack Kano NNPP supporters, Enugu PDP reps candidate, Imo APC LP chairman attacked, driver burnt to death. A very disturbing story, writers from that story, but a very encouraging one on the banner headline itself.
Yeah, so we're to note that some days ago, the NNPP raised concerns about threat to the lives of their supporters in Kano. And then, while it is very important to note that, yes, this is a great one that the military has begun raid on hoodlums hideouts, and that 63 people have been arrested. It is also very important to say that some people have purposed in their hearts that come what may, they're going to mark this election with violence. No matter what, they're going to do that. And it might be even in the know of some of the presidential candidates of some of the political parties. But then, we should also know that these people should know that the military is also ready and that they are bringing their A game to the table. They're bringing their A game to the fight against anything that will mar, free and fair elections or the credibility of the polls. So it's important to know that while you are proposing that, you should also put that in mind. And we would expect that everyone should rein their people in so that we can have, free, fair, and credible elections.
Well, yes, we expect that. I saw the pictures that came out from the NNPP attack yesterday. They weren't really nice pictures. They weren't. Well, let's take other stories. Federal government shortlist for firms to audit NIPOST assets, as on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. Lagos motorists groan over multiple levies, on page 4 of that newspaper. Talk about, what do you think about that?
Yes, well, the fact that these people are groaning is enough to make any government, to be spurred to action, concerning the plight of their people. If even Lagos, they're having multiple levies. To what end are these levies? What are the purposes of these levies? Why are they being collected? Is it the government now that is getting the levies, or just some unions? And the fact that they are groaning means that it's not favorable to them, and it can't be. We can understand, considering how much stress you have to put in getting fuel now, considering how much you have to buy it, considering the cash crunch in the nation. So it's important that Lagos state government, is put to action on and to look into what these levies are for. And if it's the government should please, look into this area, because the people are groaning, and it means that it's not favorable to them, to their living, and to, their businesses.
All right. Well, above the nameplate of the paper this morning, the Punch newspaper, Biden polls, be peaceful. Biden urges Nigerians. That's coming from the President of the United States there. We were talking about it yesterday, how it seems that everybody, the attention of the world is on Nigeria. People
and it's
telling
understandable,
us to,
quite understandable, really.
People telling us to be peaceful, to choose peace and not violence. And it is important that we also follow all of these pieces of advice, regardless of who is giving them. What is important that we take charge of the system and we're sure that it goes smoothly.
And I want to state that the success of this coming election will be able to put us in these people's positions as well. If we have a peaceful, a credible election, we can also tell other, other countries, that they should look to us as some form of example, and also we could also give them, pieces of advice, like it's coming from the international communities now.
All right, 87.2 million PVCs collected. Lagos, Kano, Kaduna top list is on page 8. So if everything go well, you expect that 87.2 million people would vote. But of course, it doesn't work like that, especially in Nigeria. And it's going to be interesting to see how many persons do come out to vote tomorrow.
Yes, especially
the number of PVCs collected, Nigeria is about 200 plus.
I was thinking this morning that it's not too encouraging, but it is. It is, considering, the numbers that have been collected in the past, for other elections. But for this particular election, we have 87.2 million. So it's encouraging, considering what we've been having so far. But I wish that people would always come out more. And some people might have just collected these PVCs for other purposes.
Yes,
and they may they may not come out to vote. But then other circumstances could, bar them from, voting this time because of some areas that have been, termed insecure right now, especially in Imo State and some other northern states.
All right, well, that's all. Okay, before we leave the Punch newspaper, alleged crime, how Finnish police grilled, released pro-Biafran agitator Simon Ekpa on page 16 of the Punch newspaper. It came out as cheering news to a lot of persons yesterday when he was speaked up. And I'm sure that there will be follow-up on that incident. Yes, a lot of persons have called for his arrest, actually, because of his dangerous rhetorics. Asking people to disrupt the election process, asking them to sit at home on election day and instigating violence. Yes. It's really bad, and I'm glad that at least a step has been taken now.
Yes, I'm glad too that a step has been taken. Like you said, there should be follow-up, as to the investigations on this man and his activities. All right, moving on quickly from the Punch to the Nation newspaper. Poll, all eyes on Tinubu article. That's on page 2, and the writer says, can Kwankwaso Obi spring a surprise? Well, I wouldn't say that all eyes are on Tinubu and Atiku. All eyes are on 4 major, candidates that have been in the news, since this election campaign started.
Began.
That's in Obi, Tinubu, Atiku, and Kwankwaso of the NNPP. And yes. The question really goes, can Kwankwaso Obi spring a surprise? Well, it's left for Nigerians to see, or for Nigerians to bring forward tomorrow. The D-Day is tomorrow. We just have, less than 24 hours now to go to the polls.
Yes, less than 24 hours indeed. And a very interesting question, can Kwankwaso and Obi spring a surprise? And it still goes to show that we've always had a two-way race. And it's probably surprising to a lot of persons that there are 2 other strong contenders in the race. But let's see.
Yeah, and I can also see that there have been some election facts that the Nation has provided here. But then people can always check that out later. But it's going to be a very, very surprising election.
Yes, very surprising.
Yes, because of these other 2 legs that have been added. All right, quickly now, just above that, the red strip, Abo Ume win Senate tickets. That's on page 6. Wike, I won't mislead you on candidate's choice. Page 4. Although I don't understand why Wike needs to even lead us on our choice in the first place. You know, now saying that you won't mislead us is something that I can't understand, and I really
I'm
don't.
sure he's speaking to his Rivers people.
Yes, that's it. And I don't understand why he would, you know, say that, but Wike has been Wike, you know, for some time now. All right, quickly now, just below this pictorial depiction here, why Obi can't win by 36 Labour Party state chairman, and the rider Adamawa Labour Party governorship candidate defects to APC. Well, this is a day 2 election.
Well,
and a candidate.
It is expected, actually. It is very much expected. Wow. Because in those states where they are defecting from, to be fair to them, they don't really stand a chance. And so for them, it's just about politics and politicking, you know, as they say in local parlance, trying to cash out from the system. But it's probably, they must have thought it out and, of course, taking their decisions, because you have to factor things in. And I'm sure that they understand that they may not have a chance at the poll.
But my question is, you know you wouldn't stand a chance from the beginning. Well, so why wait till, you know, a day?
It's politics. You know, it's the game of alliance and the game of alignment.
I think it's a game of destabilization.
No, not really. Not really. It's just a game of people wait till dire minutes. It happened in 2018 here in Osun State. You know, after the initial result, there was a rerun, and the SDP candidate then, Omishore, was you know, lobbied by 2 of the leading candidate, the PDP and the APC, and it was on the eve of the rerun that he, you know, switched sides and started to pitch his tent with another party. So it happens. People weigh their options to see which is more, you know, is interest. They see which serves their interest more, and then they pitch their tent.
You know, while INEC has a deadline on when or a close date for when you can announce, you know, a candidate for, you know, a particular ticket, I think there should be a deadline too for alliances. No, because where do you? No, really. Where do you put those people who have said, I'm going to vote Labour Party? Where would you even put Labour Party at this moment?
Well, the thing is, Labour Party is still on the ballot. People can still vote for Labour Party.
Okay, so what then happens?
The fact that they are on the ballot does not, you know, it's the party that is on the ballot. You know, that's why when people win elections and they have issues with their candidate, the candidate can be removed, but the party wins the election, not the person. So even if you defect a day-to-day election, your party is still on the ballot. If your party emerges winner, because you have left the party, there's a runner-up. There's a runner-up in the primaries. That person automatically steps in to the position. Okay,
so what you're saying now is, despite the fact that this Labour Party gubernatorial candidate has defected to APC, if Labour Party wins, it will still go to Labour Party, not APC.
Yes.
It will?
It will go to Labour Party.
Okay. All right, quickly, we're moving on from that story to just above the nameplate. Ogun Agro Cargo Airport records maiden flight. That's in page 27. And I can say that that's one great feat that is coming from the administration of Governor Abiodun.
Well, you begin to wonder if that is going to be maintained long term, or if it's just re-election.
If it's going to be profitable to the state.
Yes.
And if the funds will be properly managed too, because we obviously have some maintenance issues in Nigeria.
Yes, we do. We do have, that's part of the issues affecting us, you know, maintenance issues. We have people who come up with projects, and within weeks, months, and years, those projects have begun to fade out because either they were not done properly, or
properly thought out.
They are not maintained properly. So it happens, you know.
All right, just beside that story, on page 3, electoral process kicks off with hitches, and the rider mix-up in media accreditation. This is just, like we said earlier, less than 24 hours to the elections, and we're still having hitches, you know, with the electoral process, and that's with the mix-up in media accreditation.
it is expected, you know, because we can't deceive ourselves and say we live in a perfect society. You know, there will be mix-up, and I don't think that it should be blown up to the point that it has. You know, we're trying to. You see, that's a problem with the media. Media is supposed to be the gatekeeper of of information. We are going into an election that is heated up, as it were. And you're coming out to say that the electoral process kicks off with hitches. What hitches? Sensitive materials have been delivered to where they should be delivered
successfully.
to. INEC has gotten money from the CBN. I mean, the nation is just trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do, maybe be rabble-rousers, but mix up in media accreditation. That's what you refer to as hitches, something that can be solved before the end of the day. We're not talking about major technical glitches. We're not talking about Beavers machines not being available. We're not talking about INEC pulling out of the election from other places. So this really isn't really nice, you know, considering the fact that we need to show up confidence in the electoral process and in the electoral umpire. This for me is not really good. It's not really good.
All right, INEC considers shifts of Enugu East senatorial poll, and the Labour Party candidate, 5 others killed. That story is on page 6. The INEC is considering shift of Enugu East senatorial poll, and that's to be expected, and it's understandable because of the Labour Party candidate, that was killed. And
yes, very sad, development there. I still don't see why the ambition of anyone is worth anybody's life. And I don't know. I hope that all of this stops.
There's a second one we have, and the other one was from the PDP, and now the Labour Party candidate is also gone. But that's all on the Nation newspaper this morning.
Well, away from the Nation newspaper, very quickly, we'll move on to the Daily Trust. Banner headline: 24 hours to go. Atiku, how Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, Kwakwanso will share 87 million votes. Riders, it's too close to call from experts. Ex-VP Asiwaju for epic battle popularity test for former Anambra governor. I think this is a more realistic headline.
Yes.
There are four major contenders who have shown that they can, go in and put up a good fight.
Yes.
It's too close. Really, someone asked me yesterday if I could give a clear-cut winner, and I said that would be difficult. The APC and PDP candidate are very strong contenders. The same thing with the other two. RMK, Rabi Musa Kwakwanso is a former minister, is a former senator, is a former governor. Peter Obi is a former governor, former chair of the, one port authority or thereabout in Lagos. So these are men with pedigree. They can hold their own when it comes to politics. And so you expect them to, 4 of them to go there and pull some weight. So it remains to be seen by this time on, by Monday, by Tuesday or Sunday even, would have gotten some hang of who becomes Nigeria's president, the first instance. Or below that, go out and vote. Biden charges Nigeria, and election results must reflect people's will, coming from ECOWAS observers. And man jailed 1 year for insulting dad, as on page 17. And on the bottom, elections, 15 killed in Kano, Enugu, Ebonyi violence. Again, worrisome when you put it like that. 15 lives lost just like that over the elections.
Yes, very, very. And like I said earlier, the election process has been marked with a lot of violence. You keep, just like you said, keep wondering if these ambitions are worth people's lives, and they aren't. And I want these people, to know that strategies have been put in place, to stop violence at all costs, and they should also know that the violence will not stop anything.
Yes.
Yes, people will still come out to vote, and it will just be a very deadly one for them, because the military is geared up already. They have, all this deployment already, to all these states. And really, we need to move past the violence thing and just, solely rely on our competence and all that we've set during the campaigns. Very important.
Yes, very, very important. And despite the fact that peace accords have been signed, you still have this happening. And that's why I said that it is not about the politicians signing accord. It is how they speak to their supporters. And we need to see politicians coming out to categorically condemn certain things and tell their supporters, do not do this. If you don't encourage actively, you end up encouraging passively, even by keeping quiet.
Yeah.
You give consent to some of these things. So you need to encourage, discourage, violence, both actively and passively. It is very important. Very, very important.
Very.
Well, above the nameplate, how digital surveillance threatened press freedom in Nigeria. Others catch more on that story on page 11. Nigerian banks face credit risks from regional expansion, and mastermind of Abuja Kaduna train attack arrested, $5,000 recovered. I wonder why this is not banner headline for major newspaper, because of the season. This is actually very, very good.
Yes.
Last year, around March, Nigeria was thrown into so much mourning because of that deadly attack along that Kaduna-Abuja corridor. But it's good that the mastermind has been arrested. I mean, it shows that our security agencies
were actually working all the time. They said they were looking into.
Yes, it's very commendable. And then 1 day to go, IGP orders air surveillance in Lagos, deploys 27,000 cops. Ogun PDP demands DSS directors redeployment over riot, and core members reject INEC posting to 3 Imo local government areas. Interesting.
Very interesting riders
there too. I'm wondering why they rejected, probably because of security, for the core members now.
Yes, I remember I was saying it this morning that I don't expect them to be rejecting these at this time, because you know what you were going in for. These places have been marked with violence long before now. And I don't know how INEC is going to, fill in that gap if you're rejecting, the deployments. I only expect that INEC will beef up security in all these areas.
Well, that's all on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
All right, moving quickly to this day. Now, the headline says 87.2 million voters to decide a presidential race too close to call. This is another realistic headline, like you said, the other time on Daily Trust. Now, the writers, Biden, U.S. stands with Nigeria as it charts new path to secure future. UK, Canada, Japan, others laud signing of second peace accord. Lawan preaches peaceful pause, drums support for Tinubu. Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi endorses Atiku. Obaseki, Atiku best choice for Edo people, urges them to reject same-faith presidency.
Oh, it's funny. It's funny, really, really, that we're still divided along these lines. But these riders are very much important. Preaching peace is important that we don't get involved with so much trouble and all of that. But then, politicians will always do their politicking and it will always cause trouble. We just hope that all of these things can be managed to the point where it doesn't break our country, and the election is not worth the lives of anybody. Let's just calm down
at all.
Yes.
All right, just below the nameplates, DHQ, Defense Headquarters, troops arrest mastermind of Abuja Kaduna train bombing. More of that story is on page 17, and it's very, very commendable. Military police vow to defend democracy at all costs. Just like I was saying, I said that as much as you have proposed in your mind to mark this election with violence, the military is also ready and, in fact, like it said here, have vowed to defend democracy at all costs. So if you want to make it bloody, the military is also ready to, to match the violence head on. FG closes all land borders. This is also great news as well. Well, I think this day is really, as much as we're still having some very disturbing news, I'm also having, hopes towards tomorrow's election as well.
Yes. Yes, we should have hopes, because it's another election, another time to elect our leaders,
Yes.
and it's a good thing, it's really a good thing. It's just that some of the side issues that have threatened to mar the election have almost taken away the shine.
Yes.
But then let's just hope for the best.
Yes. Yes. All right, just above the nameplate, billionaire philanthropist Otedola donates engineering faculty to Augustine University. Lays foundation stone for Block 2 and 3, pledges to support varsity to become #1 center of excellence in Africa. And that story is on page 5. And Malami Buhari didn't breach Supreme Court order by banning old banknotes. Malami
Interesting
said,
to see Malami's explanation for that.
Yes.
To be interesting to see. Well, let's just hope that they come up with some sort of
Credible
yes.
explanation.
Let's just hope that they give us some credible explanations.
Yes.
Well, that's all on this newspaper. I suppose we'll move on to the Nigerian Tribune this morning. The Nigerian Tribune has at its banner headline 87,209,007 PVCs collected. That's coming from INEC. Lagos takes highest PVC. Northwest retains regional lead. Uncollected PVCs are 6,259,229. PVCs. That's on page 4.
Yeah.
Lagos taking the highest PVCs. I mean, Lagos has always been a very huge factor in elections.
Yes, like we've talked about that, but I think it's disturbing that we have 6 million plus uncollected PVCs. Although INEC has given some sort of explanation to that as being that maybe people who have relocated and, other factors, have done. But I still think that it's quite disturbing. About 6 million people added to this would have been, a very great figure indeed.
Well, below that, you see the picture of the first commercial flight landing in Ogun Cargo Airport. Page 29, that's some ceremonial action there. The airplane being sprayed some sort of water there. Below that, we'll use maximum force against troublemakers. The security forces on page 4. 2 Fiat killed, 6 vehicles burnt as political thugs clash in Kano. That's on page 27. And at the sidebar of the paper, U.S. President calls for peaceful, credible poll on page 4. Violence. Atiku raises the alarm over plans to scuttle election. And Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa arrested, released in Finland. And troops arrest Abuja Kaduna train attack mastermind in 2 others in Kaduna. That's on page 6. 24 hours to elections. Hope suspense across Nigeria. Very dramatic, if you ask me. But that's the truth. A lot of persons want to see how tomorrow will go. We really want to see how it will go.
Yes, like I said, it's marked with hope. I am getting the hope from what is coming from the newspapers this morning, especially with the fact that the military is very ready and INEC is also doing all that it can do to tie loose ends, towards tomorrow's election. And then the suspense is due to the fact that we have 4 major contenders for this particular election.
Yes.
So it's something that's going to be beautiful to see what the outcome would be, And the international societies are also, looking forward to how we pull it off successfully and what the outcome would be. If power is still going to be between the 2 major parties we've known before, or if it's going to shift to this other 2 that have just joined the race, very, very strongly at the presidential level.
Yes, that's all on the Nigerian Tribune. I think we still have one more paper.
Yes, on the Daily Independent, and the headline says, I think most of them are having almost the same headline.
Yes.
2023 election concerns that will influence 87.2 million voters tomorrow. The riders, INEC to stop Enugu East senatorial poll over killing of Labour Party candidate. Buhari arrives in Katsina ahead of tomorrow's presidential NAS poll. That's on page 29. Our president is also, ready to, give his vote to this particular election, which is commendable. And in this case, it's leadership by example. Just the bottom strip of the paper, another similar headline, Naira swap policy. Federal government may slam treason charges on opposing governors. Malami is saying that again on this, and it debunks breach of Supreme Court order on Naira policy. You remember that several people have been saying, even these governors have been saying that the Supreme Court order was breached and it wasn't followed.
Yes.
But here, the Attorney General is debunking the breach of Supreme Court order on Naira policy. We don't know how that would, eventually turn out, but then we're looking forward to that. Then the sidebar, killing of our candidate supporters in Enugu, barbaric, senseless. That's Obi saying that. And just like you said, the peace leaders need to come out to, discourage, acts like this. And Obi here has done that, which is commendable. Murder story is on page 7. Over 1 million IDPs may be disenfranchised in Benue tomorrow. That's headers kill 7 in 4 council areas. Page 7. That's not good at all.
At all.
Over 1 million people. It's really not great news. Cash crunch may short half of businesses in informal sector. NESG. That's on page 6. Nigeria lifts ban on charcoal processed wood export. That exporters jostle for combined market share of $158.35 billion. That's on page 6.
Well, we hope that this will again show up, the economy and help us make more money as well as get things better. Yes.
Very. At least we have a lot of, forests that have wood, so we can really easily process charcoal.
And make money also, most especially to ease up the economic hardship.
So we need to, like people have been agitating for a shift and a diversification of the economy. So this is very, very, very great. Just above the nameplates, Finnish police released Southeast sit-at-home enforcer Simon Ekpa after hours of questioning. U.S. has no preferred candidate in Nigeria's presidential poll. Biden comments Nigeria's visa code. I never expected the U.S. to have any preferred candidate or to be naming a preferred candidate.
Well, it's because over time in elections, the U.S. has been accused of interference and installing people. So it's good that he's saying that, look, we understand what you guys want to do, what you're going through, but we don't have any horse in the race. We're just, all our advice, all of our admonition is for you to have a good system.
Yes. All right, the last news now, that's the bottom strip of the paper. On page 6, military apprehends mastermind of Abuja Kaduna train attack. That's all on the Daily Independent and even on the papers this morning.
Oh, well, yes, that's all on the papers this morning. We now take a break. And when we return, we'll bring you a guest to talk about the polity and some of the things happening in the build-up to the election. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us again and for joining us on the show and for keeping faith with us. We now move over to the interview segment where we'll be speaking to a public policy expert, Babatunde Oluwajo, who speaks on governance and public policy. He's joining us live from Abuja via Zoom this morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, it's 24 hours or even less to the presidential and National Assembly elections. in Nigeria. What is your assessment so far of the electoral process?
Well, to start with, we've come quite some. It's been a journey from 1999 to date, and we have seen some incremental progress, incremental improvements in the electoral process to the point where we are right now. And this incremental improvement is a product of the collective struggle of the Nigerian people who are seeking for better quality representation and better outcome, better governance outcome. So it's been a titanic battle of the Nigerian people in their quest for good governance. So we've moved from where we were in 1999 to where we are currently, and we just hope that that quest of the Nigerian people for better quality representation and a better governance outcome can be realized with these particular elections.
All right, so for the first time, in Nigeria's history, it is no longer a two-horse race as it used to be. What does this tell you about the Nigerian electoral system? Do you think we are finally maturing to the point where people can see beyond just two parties?
Yeah, for me, like I did say earlier on, we have seen incremental improvements. And this improvement, no doubt, must have given confidence to people to say, okay, I want to run on that platform other than the two traditional platforms. And I think we need to give kudos to late Chief Gani Fawehinmi, who led the battle for liberalization of the political space. If you
Oh, well, we seem to be having some sort of discomfort.
To the 2000 National Conscience Party fought all to the Supreme Court before INEC registered the then National Conscience Party and other political parties. So, I mean, what we are seeing right now is a product of that titanic battle that was fought by NCP and Chief Gani Fawehinmi. So I think he deserves, a lot of credit for that. Because before now, we are starting with just two parties. And that led to so many political killings, so many, criminal activities, so many looting, so many toggling right there. So what we have seen, I would say that it is a product of some of those battles that were fought that led to liberalization of the political space. And some of the reforms that has been forced through by the Nigerian people. You remember what it took the National Assembly, the pressure from the Nigerian people before they could agree to BVAS and the electronic transmission of results. And we have seen the salutary effect of some of those changes in the Osun elections and even the Ekiti, off-season elections. So I would say that we have made some progress. We may not have gotten there, but definitely we're not where we were in 1999.
All right, talking about killings and violence, we have some places in Nigeria now, about 3 local government areas in Imo that have been marked by killings recently and violence, and even up north, we still have the existing violence there. How do you see this affecting the dynamics of this election tomorrow?
Well, if you ask me, I will not see those killings largely as a result as political killings. I will see them as product of some of the agitations, banditry, kidnapping, and criminality that has been on before now. We know in certain parts of the country, because of the agitations for separation, there has been threats that there will be no election. I think what we have seen in the eastern part of the country, from my perspective, is likely an attempt to browbeat the people and scare them away from participating in the electoral process, especially against the backdrop of the threats that nobody should come out for election. So that's the way I want to see that. In the north too, we have seen banditry before now. We have seen kidnapping and all the rest. So if you ask me, I would say, to a large extent, I wouldn't see this as political killings with regards to the election. I rather see them as an extension of some of the banditry and the thuggery and just name it, the agitations that has been on ground before now. That's where I would see it, rather than seeing them as solely political killings, as what it used to be. I mean, in 1999, immediately post 1999, when because of the struggle to get a ticket of the two dominant parties, there were quite a number of political killings.
Okay, so before as we head into the election, quite a number of things have happened. You know, there's been the fuel scarcity, there's been the cash crunch. Have you ever seen an election have you ever seen a period where Nigeria went into an election with so much troubles, so much hardship surrounding the electoral period?
I will tell you that it is quite unprecedented. Usually when elections are coming, I mean, the political class try to make concessions to the Nigerian masses to at least alleviate some of their challenges, some of the hardship they go through. But on this occasion, it appears it was deliberately planned that we're going to make it difficult for the Nigerian masses to come out and exercise their franchise. And I would say it is quite unprecedented. The reverse used to be the case. We are close to elections, the political class grant concession and try to, even if just in a, what I'll call in a cosmetic manner, try to alleviate the sufferings of the people. But on this occasion, I mean, we have seen a situation where the sufferings have become compounded, even as the country, goes towards a general election.
Also, I also like to ask you that, you know, Nigeria has never been, some persons say Nigeria has never been this deeply fragmented along ethnic and religious lines. Considering the demography of the four leading contenders, what does that say to you about, our level of, politicking in this part of the world?
Well, to start with, it's a two-edged sword. The fact that people could find space in other political parties when they prefer their platform, they couldn't get the ticket. I would say it's a positive one. It shows that we are maturing in one way or the other. Because unlike in the past, like I did say, before the effort of Chief Ganifa and the National Conscience Party to force, the political class to expand the political space, what would have happened would have been political killings because of the fact that there were just about 2 or 3 platforms. But now the platforms are plethora. So if you don't get your ticket on the platform of one party, you can move to the next one and get a ticket. So for me, that's a positive one. We have broadened the political space, and then there will be more room for participation. However, with regards to, the bifurcation of the polity, such that, we're divided on ethnic, regional, and religious lines, I would say it is quite unprecedented. Not even after the Civil War was Nigeria this divided. And I would say that it is an unfortunate legacy of the current government. The Buhari government has been noted to be nepotistic, to be one-sided, to be regional. Even Obasanjo, with all his reputation, had a pan-Nigerian government where almost everybody, every part of this country was represented. But look at the way the country is today. Just take a look at our security architecture and tell me, you can see clearly that it's dominated by just one section of the country. Tell me who is who in terms of the choice appointment, what you call the critical appointment. It is definitely dominated by one section of the country. And then in terms of sensitivity to those things, in terms of, we have seen where a section of the country have decided that any land in the country belongs to them, and they can therefore kill, maim, cause destruction, and then it appears nothing is being done. It's almost like a situation of where my bandit is better than your bandit. Some bandits are being treated as with kid gloves, while in other parts of the country, legitimate agitations are being crushed with all military force that is available, to the government. All these are more than anything to deepen the divisions in the country. And I must say that it is an unfortunate legacy of the current government in power. We do hope that after these elections, whoever emerges will take effort, make conscious effort to be able to bridge some of these divides and to be able to close some of these gaps that we have seen, which is quite unprecedented.
All right, having assessed the president's disposition or his attitude towards administration of the country since inception, how would you see his administration delivering on good and credible polls this particular time? What legacy do you think he would leave behind?
Well, if the off-season election is anything to go by, I would say, relatively, the government has shown that it is interested to some extent, that it will not interfere rather in the outcome of elections. We have seen the mid-off-season elections in Ekiti, Osun, in places like Anambra, and a couple of other states. If that legacy, the government continues on that trajectory, then there is some reasonable chance that we may get a credible election. Although, some of the current development, latest development too, from certain quarter indicates that the government may not want to directly interfere, may indirectly be interfering through some of the policies that some people have seen as, that the implementation is, people have called into question the timing of the implementation of some of these policies. And then you are talking about going close to a general election. And we have had this lingering fuel crisis, and it appears the government is so powerless, which made some of us don't think the government is that powerless to address. And then when we talk about this Naira thing, despite the so-called good intentions, a lot of people have questioned the timing of this so-called Naira redesign and all the rest. Because if you look at it today, who are just bearing the brunt? The engine of growth of Nigeria's economy, which is the small-scale business, is almost grounded. It is practically grounded. The transporters, people can't move easily. You go to the market, the petty traders can't trade. Just because of what? Because of the fact that you don't have something as basic as our notes, as our bank notes. It is almost unprecedented. In the past, we have had, a change of currencies, but it's not been this traumatic. This is terribly traumatic for the average Nigerian. You are talking of people who before now are under pressure, economic pressure of inflation. And all of a sudden, they can't even have access to the limited resources they have. Majority of our people are people who live on the basis of their daily incomes. Today, it is almost impossible for them to eke out a living. So poverty has become much more endemic. And by the time the economic outcomes, for the first quarter, for this quarter, is coming out, we are going to see that the Nigerian economy would have shrunk considerably, simply because people have not been able to.
Well,
He seemed to have lost.
yes, and he was making quite the point.
Yes.
Okay, this back.
Right.
It's quite unfortunate.
All right, so a lot of persons have said that the president's position, on wanting to leave a legacy of free and fair elections, some governors within his party have described it as anti-party, saying that there's some cabals working to attack the emergence of the APC's presidential candidate. But do you think that President Buhari insisting on leaving that legacy of free and fair elections, no matter whose ox is God, is a good one for democracy?
But for me, I don't want to get involved in the political fighting with the APC. I'm not an APC member, and there's a chance I will never be one. But for me, I'm concerned about the impact of some of the policies on the vast majority of our people who have no any form of succor from any form of government. During COVID-19, we saw globally how governments were intervening in the life of their citizens to ensure that they continue to live like human beings. Yeah, Nigerians were on their own. Rather, the political elite, especially the APC government, turned the COVID-19 to an opportunity for mass looting. It was during COVID-19 when people were where people were at home that this government said it was spending almost unbelievable amount of money on school feeding. When children were at home, their parents were getting no money whatsoever, any form of support. It was at the same time the government came out with incredible, unbelievable figures of school feeding children. And on the school feeding program, you ask yourself, where are the kids who are being fed? Secondly, we saw even corporate organizations made supported the government to give palliative to Nigerians. And these things were stockpiled. Not until Nigerians, out of hunger and frustration, were looting those warehouses. It was then we knew that there were provisions that some things were actually the provision has been made for citizens to be supported. So against that background, and then with these current policies, I think we need to ask ourselves critical questions. That even if you have a good intention of ensuring that there's fair and fair election, the question is at what cost? Is it at the cost of the lives of Nigerians? So because we want fair and fair election, Nigerians should not be able to engage in basic economic activities. People that get no support from government, people who are on their own, who are like orphans in their father's land, people who don't depend on government for anything, who know because they will get nothing from government, and then you made it impossible for them on the basis of their struggles to be able to eat, to be able to feed their children. It is almost unprecedented anywhere in the world where people have to, out of protest, to have to go naked in banking halls. Women have to go naked, men have to go naked, just because they want to access their own money. And you say you are doing that because you want to ensure fair election. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. The fact that I want fair election does not mean people should die before the election. Does not mean they should not be able to eat. Does not mean they should now become destitute. You can ensure fair election while at the same time not putting the livelihood of Nigerians in danger, especially given the fact that they benefit nothing directly from the government. We are like orphans in this country. And the average Nigerian is a local government unto himself. You pay for you have to put your kids in private schools. You have to, dig your borehole. You have to, just tell me one thing we don't do. Your security, you have to contribute money and engage your PC to keep you safe. If you are sick today, you're on your own. So, under such circumstances, you cannot say because under the guise of I want fair election, those same citizens you provide no direct support for. The efforts they make to keep themselves alive, you now want to go and attack it, you want to peril it. Don't they know themselves? Don't they know those who steal? Don't they know those who have stockpiled money? Why not go directly for them? Why make Nigerians suffer collateral damage because of your so-called want to ensure fair election, want to ensure nobody buys votes? Why would people even say their vote? If they are relatively comfortable, if they can afford the basic means of life, why will the slogan be the Boko Sebe? If on their own they can save for themselves. So it's like chasing shadows. You have left the fundamentals unattended to. You are not going about you're chasing shadows instead of attacking the source of the malady. You are now looking for symptoms. They know where the money are or where the money is. Those who have stockpiled money. They know themselves. They know the criminals and the corrupt. They should not make ordinary Nigerians suffer collateral damage. When they share, when they steal, when they loot, the ordinary Nigerian is not a partaker. So if they want to fight themselves, they should not make the ordinary Nigerians suffer for their criminality. And like I said, why is it at this stage? It is their business if they have intra-class struggles or disagreements. But don't make the ordinary Nigerian who will not be part of the sharing when the time comes for them to share, to bear the brunt.
All right, you've observed the government's reaction to the hardship of its people. Then how do you assess this current hardship now? Do you think it's going to in any way affect voter turnout during these elections?
Well, for me, if the two against one, a section of the country may get so disillusioned that they just ask themselves, what's the point? We did this 4 years ago, we did it 8 years ago. What did we get? Compared to 8 years ago, what was my relative economic condition? What it is right now? That's a section may think about that. Another section may, out of anger or out of the desire for change, say, okay, we're going to come out and then we want to tell these people who owns this country. So a section of the country or a section of the populace may take that position. But like I said, it's a threshold. Nobody is sure until the day of election when we see what the outcome, will be. Because for many Nigerians, they're just disillusioned. They see no way forward. And whether you like it or not, even the so-called leading contenders, if you ask me from my own perspective, I see no difference between them. One of them was a running mate to one of the PDP in the other time. The other one was one of those who facilitated the emergence of the current government. One of them was the Minister of Defense at a point, under which they were sharing a monument for arms and all the rest. Tell me one of them that is, you can, and the other one was, according to his principal, is a looter. So for a conscious Nigerian, there's even no, it's like the choice between the devil and the deep blue sea. It's like the difference between them is like 6.5 dozen. So as far as I'm concerned, among the so-called leading contenders, there's very little to choose from. That is the point. Those who can actually, who are in a position to be something different, have not been classified among the so-called leading contenders. And that's just a shame, because it's the same of the same among the so-called leading contenders. So for me, there's nothing to enthuse an average conscious mind about. There's nothing to enthuse an average conscious mind about. It's the same of the same. Forget any effort to paint anybody as a saint. It's a lie. All of a sudden, because of months to the election, having failed to win the mandate of a party where that you are a former vice president, all of a sudden you became a saint. No. And that is why, for me, it's going to be a double jeopardy for us. Because if any one of them emerges on the basis of their fake and false promises, the people may become, and then they fail, which we know they will fail because of their commitment to neoliberalism, which is sure to sentence people into more poverty and impoverishment. The people will become more and more disillusioned until we can build a genuinely people's party, where the people themselves will take their destiny in their hand and decide that no, we need an alternative, not just in terms of the faces, but in terms of the fundamental policies and principles of governance, in terms of what they believe, in terms of ideas of how to revamp, the Nigerian economy and Nigerian society. I think people will get more demoralized, and we may continue to experience less and less participation by the people. One say want to sell off everything. The other one is a Chinese in the Nigerian Kenya. The other one has been known to be against the fire. Their legacy is about gentrification. If their legacy go to the state where they claim the government and they have been governing since 1990, it's about gentrification. That's what it is. So between the one Omakoti later, between the Chinese and between the gentrificator, what is the choice? I would say it's an opposite choice. It's a choice between same of same. The only people who represent anything different don't have the money, the financial muscles, to compete, at that level with them. Because the same people who have cornered our Commonwealth, they are using Owabu to share Abula Lidio. It is our same money that has been cornered, that has been looted, that has been stockpiled among board. I'm not singling out any one of them. Among the 4 leading contenders, they have been there, and they have been part and parcel of the looting, of the thievery, of the desolation of the country. So I don't invest any hope in any of those 4 leading contenders. They represent the same elite, the same class, who are only interested in looting, in destroying, and in stealing.
Mr. Oluwaju, let's be tempered with our choice of words. But let me ask you very quickly. There have been some issues in the build-up to the elections. Do you have faith in the electoral umpire, INEC?
Well, within the limit of what is possible for INEC, I think they've made some effort. Like I did say, between 1999 and date, we have seen some incremental improvement. And of course, if the electoral umpire has not been open-minded and ready to embrace change and reform, maybe we would not have gotten here. And for me, the biggest one was the push of INEC for the use of beavers and electronic transformation of results. I think for me, that's a major big plus for INEC. And if INEC had not been open to it, maybe it would have been impossible, given the position of the National Assembly and even the executive. At the point these were being pushed and we are being canvassed by civil society and ordinary Nigerians who just desired the change, who didn't want it to be business as usual. So I would say that they have been open-minded, they have been ready to embrace the reforms, and progressively we have seen some of those things. And then from what INEC told us, in terms of their logistics, despite all the challenges, they've made effort to get the number of some of their logistics in place. They told us they have about 100,000 vehicles they need for logistics.
Mm.
Told us the effort they have made. We have a good number of people who have collected their BVCs. I mean, very good percentage. They have equally told us the effort they have made. I mean, to put in place remedial measures, even in the face of serious security challenges, to ensure that even in some of those security challenge areas, that elections goes on. So it shows that, I mean, they have made some effort from their part. But there's always how do I put it, there are things that may be beyond their control. Because no matter what they do, they still need the cooperation of other government agencies, especially the security agencies, and including even the political parties as well as the electorate, except we work in tandem with INEC. All these other bodies, the security agencies, the political parties themselves, we may not be able to see the best of INEC's performance. But on the basis of their own report sheet, I would say it appears they have made some efforts to be in the state of preparedness.
All right. Looking at the stance of the military and the police who have vowed to defend democracy at all costs, how do you assess them? Do you think that the level of their preparedness would be able to curb violence to life and property and even vote buying during the coming elections?
Well, before you and I think in some parts of the country we have seen a reduction in security threats, whereas in other parts of the country it appears to be going up. And given the fact that even the police have not been able to protect their own formations in some of those parts of the country, you ask yourself, how would they be able to protect the citizens of those parts of the country, especially those parts of the country where people have been threatened not to come out on the day of election. So that remains to be seen. But I would say that, well, they have been able to, let me say, reduce threats in certain parts, but in certain parts it's still going on. So, we just can't, they can't rest on their oars. That's just the truth about it. The security agencies can't rest on their oars until these elections come and go. So, I would say that there's some progress have been made, but there's equally quite a number of challenges confronting us.
Well, let's look at the killings as we begin to wrap up now. Let's look at some of the killings that have happened, especially in the southeastern part of the country. Do you think that that is enough to affect the possibility of an election holding there? I mean, on the Nation newspaper this morning, INEC says it is considering shifting the Enugu East senatorial poll because of the violence that has occurred there. Do you think that these pockets of violence between now and tomorrow may, escalate to the point of having elections shifted in some parts of the country, particularly in the southeast?
Well, for me, that's why I said it goes beyond INEC. There are certain things that's within the control of INEC, other things are not within its control. INEC's duty is to conduct the elections. Security is the duty of the security agencies. If we need to rely on their advice, if they come back to INEC and say, well, sorry, we can't guarantee maximum security, INEC will have no option than to do the needful, which may be that to postpone elections in certain places. Because for me, why elections are important, I don't think they are worth the lives and the blood of innocent Nigerians who just want to go out there to participate in the governance of their country. So for me, it goes beyond INEC. The security agencies they have a primary duty with regards to provision of security and safety of lives and property. So if they come back to INEC and say, sorry, we can't guarantee security, INEC will have no option than to call us elections in certain places. We do hope it will not get to that. But if that has to be done, not to protect lives, because for me, life is very sacrosanct, and we should not be sacrificing our citizens just because we want to conduct elections. If that has to be done to protect lives, for me, so be it.
All right. Before I let you go, Mr. Oluwajo, what advice do you have to Nigerians as they head to the polls tomorrow?
Well, For me, I think as Nigerians, we need to first and foremost take seriously our security, our safety. In the country where we're on our own, we cannot afford ourselves to be made just mere statistics. Go out there, conduct yourself in a peaceful and orderly manner, vote according to your preference and your choice, and please try and avoid as much as possible any form of thuggery or violence. Please, the people who are the normal beneficiary are the political class, and they will not put their kids and kin in the line of fire. Nigerians, please don't put yourself in the line of fire. Don't become a cannon fodder for any politician. Let us stay alive. Safety first.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. Thank you for your time so much on the show. We do hope that you also stay safe, Mr. Babatunde Oluwajo, who's a governance and public policy expert. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I will definitely stay safe.
All right. Well, that's it this morning. So some hours before Nigerians head to the poll, and we expect that you do very well. Try to cast your votes, defend your vote peacefully, and of course, most importantly, stay safe. That's what's important.
That's the most important thing. Stay safe. Do not engage in violence of any kind, and do not be influenced to sell your votes.
Well, I'll be coming back to tell you who is trending, what is trending, and also give you some warnings that's coming directly from the Nigerian army for those planning to sabotage the election. But Temitope has plans for Friday,
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on this program today. Temitope Ajijola Oluola, and we cannot overemphasize the importance of your safety. Please stay safe.